genre.
Welcome back to The Doctor's Companion presents Doctor Who The Long Way Round, the weekly podcast where we review and discuss every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I'm Cass Fredrickson.
I'm Scott Corelli.
And I'm Nick Jimenez.
And today on the show, we'll be discussing The Brain of Morbius, the Fourth Doctor's 10th story.
Yeah, The Brain of Morbius. This was the first story to air in 1976 from January 3rd to January 24th. This is, we're like at this point, waist deep in the Hinchcliffe Holmes era of the show. This was this is sort of like, I don't know if this is as goth as classic Who gets, but it's up there. It's got to be top 3 in terms of the most goth.
I mean, like,
episodes.
you don't get more goth than Mary Shelley.
Yeah,
you know?
Very true. Very true. So this story came along because Philip Hinchcliffe, the current producer of the show, wanted to explore robotics in the show, and that is going to be something that we'll come back to a couple of times in his era. But he was really interested in it because he had been reading, some of Isaac Asimov's stuff. And so he was just like, I really want to look into this robot thing. And so he told Robert Holmes about his interest in that. Robert Holmes, meanwhile, was eager to use, sort of gothic horror story ideas. At one point, he had developed a vampire adventure called The Haunting. When that project fell through, he and Hinchcliffe, they started like talking about the robotics idea. And they thought about robots, and they thought about the episode Robot, the first Tom Baker story, which was written by Terrence Dicks. And so they returned to Terrence Dicks and was like, we have this crazy idea to merge Mary Shelley's Frankenstein with robot stuff. And Terrence Dick came up with the idea of, like, he was also thinking about Forbidden Planet, the sci-fi film from the 50s. And was thinking like, okay, so what if there was a space criminal named Morbius, and he crash lands on a planet, and he has a robot servant who rescues his brain and is going out on this planet and finding little creatures and sort of assembling a patchwork body for Morbius, but it's like doing it wrong because it doesn't know what it needs, because it's a dumb robot, and builds him like this crazy monstrosity. So they were like, great, let's commission this. And so Terrence Dicks writes Brain of Morbius, and then he writes it, and then he goes on vacation or something like that. But at this point, it had just been decided that Brain of Morbius would be the second to last story, and they felt that the last story in this season would be probably the most expensive of the season, and so this episode needed to be a lot cheaper. And so they tried to figure out ways to save money, but this story was really expensive. It had a monster, it had a robot, it had stuff that costs money, location shooting, and they were also told that
extras.
They were also told that they would have to shoot this entirely in a studio, no location shooting, because location shooting was always more expensive back then. because you had to shoot it on film instead of video. So all of that being said, Terrence Dicks was out of town. He wasn't going to be able to do another pass on this thing. So Robert Holmes took it upon himself to do another pass. He changed the robot to a guy, and then he gave the guy an assistant, a big burly assistant guy. Just like sort of tweaked everything to make it more indoors instead of outdoors. And enough of it was changed that when Dix came back and read the script, he was like, look, I used to have your job. I know why you did all these things, but also this isn't really the story that I wanted to write. So I feel like I should take my name off of it. And Robert Holmes was like, well, I don't want my name on it. So whose name is going to go on it? And they were like, I don't know, just put some Bland pseudonym on it. And so then Robert Holmes was like, Robin Bland it is. And there it is. That's that is the quote unquote author of this story, Robin Bland. The thing that's interesting about this is like Robert Holmes was like always trying to sort of like dig into the Doctor's backstory and where he came from and things like that. And so he's throwing a lot of stuff at the wall in this episode. And it's a lot of interesting ideas. And one of those interesting ideas has been stuck in the craw of many Doctor Who fans, which is the sort of like telepathic duel in the at the climax of the 4th episode, in which you see the Doctor go backwards through his regenerations, but it doesn't end with William Hartnell. It keeps going backward, and this moment is the moment that a certain showrunner decided to take that thing that's been stuck in his craw for years and created a continuity that would make sense of it. So this moment, Nick, this is where the Timeless Child was born. Goes all the way back to 1976.
So young Chris Chibnall, fresh off the beach from Broadchurch, was just sitting in front of the telly one Saturday night, and he was like, holy shit,
what does that mean? Yeah,
what does that mean? You know what's crazy is they all look like they were on Plymouth Rock.
Yeah. Funnily enough,
all the pre-Hartnell.
But funnily enough, they're all crew members. So like Robert Holmes is in there, Philip Hinchcliffe's in there, a couple of directors are in there. I think there's like a unit location assistant or something. Like there's just like a bunch of dudes who are working on the show, and they just
Todd at Crafty.
Yeah, they all got in a costume and took a picture, and then they ended up in the thing.
That's so cool.
I like that.
And there's a lot about this story that I want to talk about in terms of, I did a lot of deep digging into Time Lord Gallifreyan continuity and history, because I had so many questions about what everyone's relation to everything was.
Sure.
So I tried to untie that knot and make sense of it. So I'll get to that later. And I'll preface it by saying it is going to be me untying the knot to the best of my ability. It's not clean. It's not cleanly done, in terms of like what is presented to us, because they're always trying to keep it a secret, and they're always trying to like give you a piece and then like another piece a few years later, and you're just trying to put it all together. But I think I generally have a story that kind of makes sense in broad strokes. But if I do get any details wrong or skip over any important stuff that listeners may know about that I'm just skipping over for the sake of, I don't know, simplifying it, feel free to leave a comment on YouTube or whatever and let us know. But I think I have it figured out, but we'll get there as we're going through the walkthrough in terms of all of that. But Brain of Morbius, maybe my favorite Fourth Doctor story. I just think it has kind of everything I want in a Doctor Who story. Other than like wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff, right? There's none of that really in it, but it has everything else I'd want. I just adore this story, with my whole heart. And I'm so curious what you guys think about it. I'm going to start with you, Nick, since it's your first time.
Yeah, I had a great time. I think this might be I think this might be my favorite Fourth Doctor story so far that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
The vibes are immaculate. I love the gothy, spooky, the vibes. I know this predates it by decades, but the Sisterhood of Karn have big Witches of Dathomir vibes.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a Star Wars fan. And yeah, I think 4 and Sarah Jane are just at top form this entire story.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just effortlessly cool and charming and weird and specific. And so many of my favorite moments in the story are just little acting moments that the Doctor and Elizabeth Sladen have. Tom Baker, that was weird. I forgot Forrest name for a second. But yeah, so I had a lot of fun.
Cass, I who knows how many times you've probably seen this, but what did you think about it this time?
This is only the second time I've seen this, I think.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't remember a whole lot from the first viewing, so it was kind of like I was familiar with it, but it was like I don't know. I don't know. I had a lot of fun with this. I made Norman watch it with me because I was like, this one's good. You'll like it. I think watching it with like a casual Doctor Who enjoyer, like I appreciated the camp of it more.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time the Sisterhood is like whispering their little chant, like
yeah. Wait, oh god, I watched it with subtitles, and so I could actually. It was like something flame, something fire.
It was god, because we were doing like little dances on the couch every time they were whispering.
Yeah, I loved watching the extras just twirling. Yeah,
sacred fire, sacred flame, like so many times, so many times. I like the costumes in this too, which is like a weird thing. I don't know. I like when. Obviously, like I like when Doctor Who does like period stuff because they have the wardrobe for it already. But I like the outfits that the Sisterhood had, and I like oh my god, what's Solon? I think he's a really cool villain. I forgot until the brain in the jar in episode 2 started talking that it was like a Robert Holmes story, but as soon as like there was a because like Nick, you haven't seen a lot of Robert Holmes stories yet, but like Robert Holmes does this thing where he introduces a villain and then like halfway through the story or like at the end of the first episode, like there's like a second secret villain that this villain is working for. And that's like that. It happens in like all of his stories.
Yeah,
it's like a rat with a crown on its head.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's a lot like Pyramids of Mars, right?
Pyramids of Mars. Yeah,
yeah. This is like almost identical in structure to Pyramids of Mars.
Okay, Pyramids of Mars is the one with the Anubis-looking god that was inside of the sarcophagus. The sarcophagus was like a portal. Yes, I got the heavy that episode vibes from this.
Yes.
So that's the same guy. And cool. He's really like in his element, like I don't know. I love a Robert Holmes story, so this was a lot of fun.
Scott, I felt very vindicated in your background when you mentioned the Forbidden Planet reference, because that is 100% the vibes that I got when Morbius comes clumbering out. It's very Robbie the Robot, very like clunky drive-in monster. That's not that we'll get to it in the story and the breakdown, but that is maybe one of my favorite creature designs in like all of Who is this half crab arm robot like lunk that's just like lumbering around with like Hitler's brain inside of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. This is a great story.
So we we meet a creature as we open. I really liked, I think I say this every season, but one of the cool things about watching this the way that we do sequentially in a way is I get to very in broad strokes see the advances in production design that the show has.
Mm.
It's still, I don't want to oversell it when the mutt is lumbering around the planet and then he's killed by another one of my new favorite. Honestly, guys, I'll say it right now. Kondo is up there for me with Pex now.
Wow.
Wow.
In terms of tragic one-off weird characters.
Yeah. He reminded me a lot of the like albino torturer in Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Okay, it's funny that you say that because I think Solon looks like Christopher Guest in Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, and speaking of, this is so crazy. They were, the intention was they actually offered that role to Vincent Price and to
Christopher Lee.
Let me get the whole. Let me see if I can find the whole list of the people.
The guy that plays Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yes. Yeah.
Peter Cushing,
and then Christopher Lee. I think.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I think they sent it to all three of like the big Hammer horror guys.
All the Hammer homies.
Yeah. Unless there's another one that maybe it's not Christopher Lee. Maybe Christopher Lee was too young. There might have been another guy. Who's the other guy that I'm missing? Vincent Price.
Peter Cushing.
Peter Cushing. Who's the other Hammer guy?
Oh gosh.
Like an older guy, right?
Help us out.
I don't know.
Gosh, but like old in this, like to be old enough to call Christopher Lee like a young man in a movie is insane.
Yeah, that's true. Well, in any event, those didn't work out, and
he did a great job though.
Yeah, and then they cast this guy, and I think I actually like it. Would have been neat to have them in this, right? Just to like add that extra layer to it. But I like how 70s this guy looks. It just makes it just feel like, oh yeah, this is what Doctor Who is supposed to feel like right now. I don't know. I love this guy.
So Kondo kills this bug creature, and I kind of glanced at the Wikipedia article for this episode, and I read a little bit of how there was some controversy with this episode at the time because of how scary and gory it got. And early on, Kondo delivers the severed head of this alien to Solon, and he's like, "You idiot, this is a bug." But you do get this close up of like a severed bug guy alien head. It's kind of gnarly. Listeners, I'm gonna do you a favor. I want you to get a really firm grasp on Kondo's visual appearance. The albino from the Princess Bride is dead on. He has like a black bowl cut and like a unibrow, and he's like lunky, but he has like a Futurama level like Bender hook hand.
Yes. Yeah. He's also like 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
He's like 7 feet tall.
He's like enormous.
Yeah.
And he has this back and forth with Sloane. They have this a few times throughout the story where it's like, "Hey man, you told me if I did enough favors for you, you would give me back my arm, so I don't have this shitty clamping robot arm." And Sloane's just always like, "I don't have time for this." So they're doing that, but he's like, what I need is a human head. I need a human mammal head with blood and a brain for my experiments. Where am I going to get a human shaped head with blood and a brain? And then cut to the TARDIS appearing. It was a really funny cut.
Yeah. This movie,
So-
that's the other part of this that I love, is there's so many moments of just like casualness too. Like later when they're all just like sitting there like drinking wine together, and they're all just like sitting at a table, like just chit-chatting, making small talk.
Yeah.
And it's like,
That's
you are
good.
in a gothic castle on an alien planet. I don't know. I
What
love
else do you do, man?
It's just, oh God, it's just the best. It's the best.
Yeah. That is very Gothic, though. The idea of like, come in, of like, here, let me pour you some wine, have some bread. But it's like Dracula.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I could use a quick refresher. The doctor comes out and he goes, all right, you Time Lord assholes. Like, I knew it was you fucking with my TARDIS. That's not cool. Come out here so I can kick all your asses one at a time. How did our last 4 story end?
Well, it's been going on for a while. Because they sent him to Genesis of the Daleks, and I think they've been kind of like low key,
Stringing
like
him along.
forcing him to places. This whole time right now, basically until Deadly Assassin, I think. Right? I think that's where that stops. Cass, if I remember correctly. Maybe? I don't remember.
That would make sense because Deadly Assassin's on Gallifrey.
Right. I think that's like the culmination of that plot line.
But so Gallifrey has been uttered at this point in the show. Like it's canonized.
Yes. In fact, the first time it's ever uttered is in Sarah Jane's very first episode.
Which I've seen.
You have not seen.
Okay, cool.
That's with 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I'll get to it. Sarah Jane has so many great moments. But so she's like, the doctor is like throwing a fit and he's like sitting on a rock with his arms crossed. And she's like, whatever, man. I really like how Sarah Jane, like their chemistry is like she can like poke at him and be like annoyed with him. And you see the template. You see how she became sort of the blueprint for the modern companion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. No, what I love about this moment is she's just like, come on, don't you want to like explore, find a problem, solve it? That's what we do, right? Come on, look, don't you want to know what that is? I want to know what that is. I'm going to go over there and see what that is. Don't you want to follow me and come with me? Like, it's just, he's
like, no.
Just like talking to a 5-year-old. It's so funny.
It's almost Rick and Morty. Like they're aware of like, come on, it's the hour where we do this. Come on.
Yeah. Come on.
So Sarah Jane sees like a graveyard of ships.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, there's like a bunch of ships. And he's like, whatever, I'm on my yo-yo. Which is kind of an underrated doctor prop. You don't hear the yo-yo celebrated a lot. At least I don't think.
No.
Does 4 have his yo-yo a lot?
Yeah, he uses his yo-yo sometimes. Yeah, it's in there.
It goes jelly babies.
Yeah.
Scarf.
Oh man! I don't know if this is Tom Baker or the doctor, but there's a moment when he's like tied to the stake, and he kind of kicks the end of his scarf behind him because he can see that it's like drooping over.
Yeah.
So Sarah Jane finds the headless body of this alien, and the doctor's like, "Oh yeah, that's a mutt." That's but no, this definitely happened after the ship crash, so we should be careful. Oh man, I really like the fake rain.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also very Gothic now that I think about it. It starts raining. And so they're like, oh, look, a castle up there on that hill. Let's go there. And they do. And that's where Solon and I keep wanting to call him other word. I could like Nando, but it's Kondo.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get that scene that you were talking about. But then we cut to the Sisterhood.
Mm-hmm.
We meet the Elder One, who I don't think was ever named.
Marin.
Marin, you're right.
Yeah.
Totally no. And then Ohika is
the younger one.
Yes.
Yeah, the younger one. That's kind of like there's a part where she says like, "Come, Ohika, you're the youngest, you're the oldest sister, so I'm going to show you a little secret."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I wonder what she means, like, of the disciples. And because she's like wearing, the actor playing Marin is wearing, I think, like stage makeup, like old age makeup.
She's got some like
so
latexy wrinkles happening too.
Mm-hmm.
So Ohika is we don't know what the connection is entirely, but there is some sort of familial connection between Ohika and Ohila, who is the Sisterhood of Karn lady that the 12th Doctor interacts with, and the one that gives the 8th Doctor the elixir of life to regenerate in Night of the Doctor.
In that little webisode.
Yeah.
I really wanted to watch that before we recorded,
Yeah.
but then I ran out of time because I wanted to know if they do the sing the fire,
chant.
sing the flame. Yeah, the chant.
Pretty sure they do, if I remember correctly.
The Marin shows Ohika that they have, like, inside of a little cave or a little like cupboard in the cave, they have the elixir of life, and the eternal flame secretes the elixir, right?
Yeah, so I actually know too much about how this works at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Let me see if I can make sense of this. Okay, so the elixir is created from water in an underground spring that passes through rocks that are heated by the sacred flame. Directly below them, the rocks contain rare minerals and compounds that are released into the water when heated by the flame, and that then creates the elixir of life that prolongs life and forces regenerations. Those are the two things it does. If you have the ability to regenerate, it will force a regeneration. Yeah.
And it's hinted at here that the Time Lords are the only beings besides the Sisterhood of Karn who are even aware of the elixir of life.
Yeah. All right. Should I get into this? Should I get into this whole thing?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if you go all the way back, and I am going to be I'm going to be pulling from the Timeless Child of this all as well. So I'm kind of merging that with some other continuity of stuff that has been, some of it's been like exercised. It's like legends now. Yeah. Because of the Timeless Children arc. But so the way that this essentially worked is you had these two planets. You had Karn, which is the planet we're on in this episode, and Gallifrey. And Gallifrey was a place where men were shorter than women. Women were taller than men. It was a women led everything. They were like the rulers of Gallifrey, and they had psychic powers and telekinesis and all of these things. And it was just the women that had those abilities. None of the men had those abilities at all. And basically so then on Karn, you had the Masters of Karn, who are this group of basically everyone that like was in charge of the world of Karn. And they became an empire, and they conquered a bunch of places, and they were kind of like known as like the most successful empire, galactic empire, in, I guess, Doctor Who continuity. And then a civil war broke out between the Masters of Karn, and they basically blew each other up. It was a atomic catastrophe that basically like wiped the planet out, aside from like a handful of like farmers and things like that. So that was all going on separately from what was going on Gallifrey. These women were known as the Pythian Order, and their leader, there was like a holders of the line of succession, and each one was known as the Pythia. So there was it was a matriarchal society, pre Time Lords. This is all before Time Lords. This is just Gallifreyans.
What story is that from?
This is from some prose stuff, from some audio stuff. Like it's all sort of pieced together, like throughout. Some comic stuff, I think. So all of this, but it's built out of a moment in Destiny of the Daleks where Romana, a character you haven't seen yet, Nick, where Romana sees a version, a possible incarnation of herself that is based on these Pythia, and she's like really tall. And yeah, I don't know. It grew out of that, I guess. Yeah. In any event, so they had all of these abilities, and they were very like superstitious, and Gallifrey was a very superstitious place. And then when the Timeless Child stuff happened, the men were the ones who were experimenting on the Timeless Child, and found the power to regenerate and the ability to control time. And that was all from Rassilon, a name that is familiar to all of us, who was this guy who really hated that women were in charge. And basically, the idea, I believe, is that he was in charge of this sort of like rebel faction of male Gallifreyan freedom fighters who found the Timeless Child and then found the way to regenerate, created the Eye of Harmony, became Time Lords, and went to war with the the women in power, the Pythia, and beat them, and essentially banished them to Karn, the remnants of them to Karn. And the Pythia then evolved into the Sisterhood of the Eternal Flame. And the reason is because
I have to consulting my notes. It is in fact, I think, called the Flame of Life.
Oh, the Flame of Life. Yeah. So the Sacred Flame.
Eternal Flame is the Bangles song.
The Sacred Flame. The elixir of life. The Sacred Flame.
What's this? Is that what the Olympics? What is called the Sacred Flame?
No. This is called. It's the Sacred Flame or the Flame of Life. They're both called the same. It's like they're both like they call it the Sacred Flame. It's the Flame of Life. But yeah. In any event,
the one that David Tennant, the one that Ten ran with in your favorite episode.
Yeah. And the reason that they evolved into this is because they started, sort of, seeing it as this religion, because without it, they're not reproducing. And so it's only the eternal life is what's keeping them around, essentially. And so like it became this sort of like very sacred thing to them, over however many millennia. And then they became, as they did start dying off, now they're just this little sisterhood group that are now like just totally devoted to protecting this thing.
But they're also not dying because they're taking the elixir.
Exactly. So, right. There's the remnants of the Pythia are still around in the Sisterhood. So then you have, so then you have the Time Lords, right? And so the Time Lords now, there are no other Gallifreyans. Everybody is a Time Lord because everybody's getting the power to regenerate or whatever. And you've got like military factions and science factions and political factions, building this new society. And you might be like, well, if they're all men, how are they making more people? They regenerate into women. And so then that like begets more Time Lords, and more generations of Time Lords. So yeah, that's like essentially what that is. And then I'll talk more about like Morbius, because he's essentially like a cult leader who, when they get this power of time travel and time lordiness
from Tecteun.
Yeah. They are firm about like, hey, we really can't like fuck around with stuff. Like we can't really get involved. We need to like, just watch from a distance and observe and whatever. But like, we can't really like dig in there and get involved. That would be
save Pompeii.
That seems like it would be bad. And Morbius is like, actually, I think we should use it to rule. And we should control everything, because we're better than everybody. And then the cult of Morbius is created from that. And he goes to war with Rassilon, eventually loses, and is the war between Morbius's people and Rassilon's people happens on Karn. And that's how it gets to where it is now. Like where it's just like, there's not any like, Masters of Karn, like none of them are around anymore. And it's because of that battle. And that's how what's her name from the Sisterhood supposedly saw Morbius.
Marin.
Marin saw Morbius murdered, was because all of that happened on Karn. Because God forbid they have their civil war on their own planet. Instead they just,
that's so them though.
Yeah, that's true. And then Rassilon conquered Karn, and that's how he found out about the flame of eternal life and all of that good stuff.
So this planet, this Karn, like went through a nuclear atomic holocaust, like completely got messed up, and then like centuries later there was another war.
Yep.
That just completely wiped it out.
Yep.
Like the remnants.
Yeah. Yeah, only
nice.
the Sisterhood
this poor
remained
planet
at that point. Yeah. And it's just sort of become this like weird sister planet to Gallifrey as a result, because Rassilon was like, yeah, we really like that elixir thing. That could come in handy. And Rassilon's just a big old asshole, just in general. So, yeah.
Is he dead? Do they kill him in End of Time, or he just gets sucked into that hole again?
He just gets sucked. I mean, Rassilon's one of those dudes that's just, he's like the master. He's never dead. It's just like every time you turn around and look back at Gallifrey, you're like, oh, you are in charge again, you asshole. Where did you come from? Yeah.
Time of recording, Timothy Dalton's still with us.
That's true. He could come back. And also apparently Morbius's like Time Lord name was like the General, apparently. So
the way they play those car ads, like those car insurance ads.
Yeah, the General.
Great.
Yeah, but yeah, it's Time Lord Gallifreyan history, all of that stuff. It is very messy and weird. And not very clean. I tried to put it together as much as I could.
I'm sorry, I don't want to derail the episode too much, but like, what about Susan? Because like Susan doesn't have regenerations, right?
Susan's not something
I don't. About. Well, she was still a child, right? You get the regenerations later.
Oh.
Like you're given the power to regenerate.
You're it's like bestowed because like the way that the Doctor in Classic Who always kind of talks about, because there's like a Time Lord Academy or whatever, like there's like you like study to be a Time Lord. So like so there's people that not everyone goes to Time Lord school, right?
Like at this point. It like,
yeah. Okay.
This is all like, however many thousands of years in the past, but yeah. Okay.
Because there's that stupid episode where Leela leaves that also happens on Gallifrey, and there's like native, quote unquote, native Gallifreyans or whatever that aren't Time Lords. Right. Yeah.
So it's sort of like how like Sokka and Katara are siblings. Sokka is not a bender. Katara is a bender.
Right. I think at a certain point, the Time Lords realize they can't let everybody be Time Lords because then, it's just like, look at the world, right? It's like, well, we can't let those people have any power because then they take it away from us. So, sure. We're immortal. We don't want to lose our power. So, yeah, everybody born naturally, I guess at this point, we need to cut this off You got to go to school, go into debt, all that stuff.
Oh gosh.
And then you're immortal and you spend your life paying it back. Like that's
right. Exactly.
What a sobering revelation that would be if, like, to find out this season that the Doctor has student loan debt.
The Doctor also never graduated, so it's technically he's Mr. Who.
Hey.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
I wasn't graduated. I decided I was finished.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I relate to that. So while they're having their one last thing I'll say, Scott. I had the thought of, you would go to a Barnes and Noble like 5 years ago, and you would see like those big, thick, like ornate history of Gallifrey books, like Time Lord fairy tales and all that. And I wondered, like, wow, I have half a mind to like go look for those on Amazon. But then I thought, like, I wonder how much of that has been decanonized in the wake of the Timeless Child and Tayun and stuff.
Yeah, I think so. I think the Timeless Child, both made better sense of everything, but also definitely decanonized a bunch of stuff. I didn't even get into the Great Vampire War, which has nothing to do with this. But
are they like?
I love.
Please.
No, because that's a Fourth Doctor episode, right? It's like toward the end of his run.
Mm-hmm.
I love just pulling. It's like, oh yeah, and then the Time Lords fought space vampires, and it's like, what? What are you talking about?
Rassilon
opened like a pipe or a door or something. He was like, "Oh shit!"
That is that's pretty much exactly how it happened, Nick.
Are they like Tolkien?
They're from another universe.
Yeah.
Oh, like the Doctor.
Mm-hmm. That's why, at the end of the day, it's like people don't like it because they think it explains too much, but also it also makes the Doctor like pure mystery again in a lot of ways. But it's not like any of that was unprecedented in Doctor Who canon, like other universes and things like that.
Well, it's so interesting. It makes me to bring up, Star Wars again with the Witches of Dathomir and all that is like, I had the thought of like, oh, I wonder how much like the new Rey movie is going to, what that's going to add to Jedi lore. Mm-hmm. And it's really, but it makes me think about how Doctor Who is sort of like counter to so much of what Star Wars has decided to do, which Star Wars isn't very interested in mystery these days. They're kind of like the opposite of like, we're going to know exactly what we know exactly what day the Clone Wars started and ended now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in like New Hope, it was just this kind of, it can mean anything. Who knows what it is,
right.
And it's interesting how Doctor Who's always as to this day decided to keep mystery like part of its recipe.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's the best I can do in terms of making sense out of it. I think that's essentially the history of everything that's going on in this story. But yeah.
Well, Cass, if you wanted to, if your goal was to not derail the podcast, you did not succeed. I do have some brief, super quick questions about space vampires.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Are they like Tolkien vampires, where like they're called vampires, but they don't really have a lot in common with what we think of as vampires, or are they like full on? Are they just vampires?
I think it's kind of like a mixture of both. Like it plays fast and loose with vampire lore, but also like they're the things that our vampire lore is based off of.
Right.
If I'm remembering that correctly.
Yeah. Their only weakness, I believe, is getting a stake of any kind driven through their heart. It doesn't have to be a wooden stake. It can be any kind of stake, but that's the only way to kill them. I do know that. And then I do know the fact that like, I think Dracula refers to them as like the ones before or something like that.
Yeah, like the old ones.
The
or
old
whatever.
ones.
What
Yeah.
do you mean Dracula refers to them?
Nick will be here all night if
we
start going down the space vampire
fucking
hole.
space
All
vampires.
right, yeah. I'll let it go for now. All in good time.
I know that's like 10 years from now or whatever.
Oh my gosh. But back in Solon's like study or living room, kitchen or whatever, they're eating dinner. The doctor is like, "Oh, I know you. You're I wrote his full name down. You're Mihendry Solon. You're from Earth. You're this insane astrophysicist. Sarah Jane, you're dead. You're way dead by the time this guy comes around. But this guy's a big deal in his time." And the guy's like, "Oh, you heard of me? That's cool." So they say that he's a human. He even says at one point, like, "God, I miss Earth. Earth ruled. You never get over your home planet." But like, it's not seen as like a weird big revelation to the Doctor or Sarah Jane that there's like someone from Earth living on Karn and knows all about Morbius and the Sisterhood of the Karn and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Because I think the Doctor, because when he's like, "Oh yeah, I know who you are," and like, because this guy just disappeared, like from Earth.
Oh yes, yeah.
And
And
then
some
he's
say he
like-
joined the cult of Morbius.
Yeah, and like, so there's like no one knew where this guy went. So then the Doctor's just like, "Oh, okay, so he ended up here. That's cool and weird."
Cool.
Yeah.
No, that totally answers. Yeah, because they're like, "Oh yeah, we never figured out what happened to you." Some people say you joined that rotten, terrible cult of pack of weirdos, and someone's like, "I don't know. I don't think that would be everybody's choice of words to describe them."
It makes me wonder, like, I guess this takes place then in the pretty distant past, right? Like, in terms of like
Who's past?
like the I don't know, Gallifrey's past, right? Because he's not like a new dude, right?
Morbius, or...
like I think because he was like fighting Rassilon. Rassilon's not around at this point,
no, I honestly don't know.
I don't think so. I don't know.
Because but this is from Sarah Jane's perspective. This was thousands and that millennia of her past ago, right?
No, because
no,
it's
This
like
is the
future
future?
Earth. Yeah.
No, I think
okay.
I believe. Okay, so I believe all the stuff that happened that I just talked about all happened technically in the future from the perspective of Earth, but that doesn't matter because they're
When
time
you're
lords,
time travelers.
So
okay.
it's so I think we're in from Earth. Earth probably doesn't even exist anymore as of like this moment of them standing on Karn. But but
for sure,
Gallifrey. I don't know.
You got your timey-wimey.
I guess that's true. Yeah, that's true.
So, the Sisterhood summoned the TARDIS into their cave, which is where we get their very Suspiria, also big like 70s Suspiria vibes.
Yeah.
With the Sisterhood.
You mentioned the Sith sisters. What are their names?
Dathomir.
Dathomir. Yeah, Sisters of Dathomir. I would not.
The Night Sisters.
I would absolutely not be surprised one iota if they actually were directly inspired by this. Like if somebody on the Clone Wars,
Dave Filoni.
Yeah, if Dave Filoni was like a Doctor Who fan also, and was like, what was cool? There was that one episode with those ladies. Let's kind of do that with like Sith, because you don't see like, it's always dudes. So like, where are the women? What are they doing? I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that's
creepy as hell.
I could totally see that being a thing.
And also in Dathomir, on Dathomir, whatever Darth Mauls are, like males, they are treated like basically like brood sows and like cattle, and like in societally are like lower than the Night Sisters. And that kind of reminds me of what you were like, a matriarchy as opposed to a patriarchy.
Right. Right.
A witchriarchy.
Yeah.
So the Night Sisters summon the TARDIS. We get that line about the cult of Morbius. And then there was like a tremor. The Doctor describes it as a telekinetic visit. Right?
Mm-hmm.
There was some kind of like earthquake or something, right?
When he looks at like because there's like
the head.
Yeah, there's like marble busts in Solon's Gothic mansion, because of course there are, and like one of them the Doctor like recognizes, and then he has trouble like placing it, and then he's just like, "Oh yeah, no, I've seen that head before. That's Morbius's face." And then like he
He was
I
a
don't
real
know,
asshole.
brain stuff.
Yes. And then he gets knocked out just as he recognizes the bust of Morbius's head.
Mhm.
And then it's revealed that Solon is a member of the cult of Morbius. He's like, oh, this is great. Like, you have a Time Lord head. Morbius had a Time Lord head. So he takes the Doctor to, they're knocked out. They both get knocked out because they drink the tea, and the tea is like poisoned.
Mhm.
So, Kondo is like, what about lady? What about girl? And he's like, I could give a shit. Like, just leave her there. Who cares? So when she wakes up, Sarah Jane wakes up, she's like, oh no. So she's looking for anyone in the house, and genuinely kind of creepy moment. She sees something move about behind some bed curtains, like Christmas Carol style bed curtains. And then she opens the door or pulls back the curtains, and you see a decapitated but moving like monster body. And then that is the episode out.
Mhm.
Yeah. I love this monster.
Pretty spooky.
Especially when he has his helmet on. He looks like that mascot with the horn for a nose. What is that?
The Noid?
No. The
The
Noid
Philly Fanatic?
Doesn't have a horn for a nose. I think he's like
I think the Philly Fanatic has a horn for a nose.
Yeah.
Green.
That guy. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
The Philly. Yeah, that's what he looks like. He looks like like if the Philly Fanatic was in a really bad accident. I don't know.
Does
Like
he
a
also have a
RoboCop's.
lobster claw for an arm? Because this thing does.
Well, I said accident. You know.
Okay.
Have you
Here's a
seen the Philly Fanatic?
No, I'm looking it up right now.
Okay.
Oh, Cass, this is gonna be great.
Yeah.
I didn't know this was gonna happen on air.
He's like a friendly.
Oh,
yeah,
what the hell?
yeah,
That guy.
yeah.
He was gritty before gritty.
Yeah, I know. This is Gritty's cousin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
He literally
like
looks
orcs.
like this thing, like before it was like burned alive or something. And lost an arm, burned alive.
yeah.
I cannot
Oh.
stop looking at this horrible thing.
Fortunately, we were able to save the fanatic, but he has been burned beyond repair.
He's also lost his head, but we've recreated it with this bowl and a horn.
And he has a crab claw.
And he has a crab claw now.
Go Philly.
God.
Yeah. So part 2, really great. Oh God, I'm in love with what Liz Sladen does, because she like opens the curtain, sees the thing. It's not like attacking her. It's just kind of like sentient, and she's like, nope. And she like pretends to notice something else behind her.
Yeah.
It's great.
She's just like, yeah, I'm gonna I need to leave. I can't. This was a mistake.
So okay, help me out, guys. The last time we saw the Doctor, he was about to get scalpeled. He was about to go under the knife, and then I think he just wakes up and deuces. Doesn't he just leave?
I think so.
Or
Because
and then
he leaves and then he goes. He ends up captured by the Sisterhood.
oh, I think they bring him. They summon him, right?
They steal him.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
They
Yeah,
steal
they
him.
like
Yeah.
yeah.
They heist
The
them
same
with
way-
their magics.
The same way that they did the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because they have
Heist
the power
map.
to like teleport things.
Oh yeah, because when they send the Doctor over there, and he's like, "What are you guys doing here?" And like, "We teleported you," and he's like, "You teleported me? You guys still teleport?" Like, it's
Yeah.
so bitchy.
It's
But it was great.
yeah, because it's like, yeah, they still have their powers that they had before, you know?
Oh, that's good, because that's actually kind of becomes like their arc, is the Doctor being like, "You guys aren't advancing at all.
Mhm.
You're frozen in place, and it's like killing you." And that's
Yeah, because
That's your fault.
you're so focused on surviving, not
Mhm.
like going extinct. That which, you know, fair, but also
yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot of this that actually resonated, of like oh, that's still kind of, that makes me think about today.
Yeah.
You know?
It does make me have questions about their connection to the timeless child, because the Doctor has psychic abilities. And so where do those come from?
Oh, yeah, because they say at one point that any Time Lord would be a threat to the Sisters of Karn because they can fortify their minds and protect against the Sisterhood's magics in ways that like normal living things can't.
Right, which is how they beat them in the first place. But they don't have like, I don't think all Time Lords can like, headbutt somebody and give them all their memories the way the Doctor can. That feels more like, I don't know, like that feels special, I guess. I don't know.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I never think that. I always just assume that every Time Lord can do what the Doctor does.
Well, but I guess I'm more like trying to make sense of like the timeless child thing.
Yeah.
And like all the continuity that I just talked about, it's like, oh, does that, I don't know. I'm just,
yeah, no, yeah.
I'm asking questions because I'm like, oh, maybe some showrunner down the line will get a wild hair up their ass and try to answer that question.
Because if the timeless child is like the template, and then like every other Time Lord like has like the potency, I guess, of their abilities isn't as strong as the Doctor, because the Doctor's the original one, right? And then they're all just copies. So like the fact that they do their weird mental like Time Lord mind
fight,
mind wrestling or whatever. Like the Doctor, like that comes from the same place, but the Doctor is just better at it because they're, you know what I'm saying?
And they don't even know why at this point, because that secret is still, they don't know that until Jodie, until
Isn't it wild that a story made 40, 50 years later can like make this story better? Like somehow, like it's just so crazy. Like he like answered those questions and then was like, here you go. Now when you watch Brain of Morbius, this is all you're going to think about. You're welcome.
Because I'm wondering if this one played better for me post Jodie Whittaker era because of the Timeless Child stuff. Because before it was just like, oh yeah, this is the one with the Frankenstein thing, and also like the Doctor has like faces we've never seen. Like that's cool. But like this, it like contextualizes this in like a different way than it did like when I watched it like a decade ago or whatever, over a decade ago now.
And something similar happens with like the prequels in Star Wars, of like, for New Republic Archives, our Star Wars podcast hosted by Gary and Tim, I talked about Attack of the Clones a couple years back, and I hadn't watched that movie since mainlining like Rebels and Clone Wars and the new movies and whatnot. And like that movie, as like fundamentally not a great movie as it is sometimes, I as a nerd, I was like, oh my gosh, this is when this happened, and you can see the decay of the Jedi Order, and it it sort of retroactively, what's the comic book term, Scott? Retcons what maybe was just like, this is kind of dumb. Like, oh, this is so it all fits now into the grand narrative of this thing that I love.
Yeah. I always love creators who, I mean, we were talking about it, right? In like the 60th specials. We're like, even regardless of how I feel about the Chibnall era, like it's always so cool when creators are like, everything counts. It all counts. My job is that I have to make it work. I have to figure it out. I have to figure out how it plays into what I'm planning on doing. But like, it all counts. I don't get to discount stuff. Whenever creators try to like discount things, I'm like, I don't know. Now what? Now what does that mean? Yeah.
that desire to like wanting to make it all fit and in universe.
Yeah.
Across it kind of speaks to how much, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, how Chibnall and Moffat and RTD are like nerds for this stuff. And we've never had a showrunner, hopefully we won't, I don't know what that would look like, to be like, I don't fucking care. Like,
It's the Sixth Doctor era. That's the that's Eric's Hayward.
Yeah, for sure. So they're doing their dance. Okay, so first, the Doctor and the eldest sister, Karn, elder one, have kind of a back and forth where the Doctor's like, "Why are you mad at me?" And she's like, "You're here to steal the flame of life." And he's like, "No, I'm not. Like, why would I want to do that?" It's because you know that the flame is dying. It's like it's weakening because of your bullshit. And he's like, "Not the look. It's a physical flame, guys. Like it is a geological phenomenon, and what's happening under the earth affects I think this is like a problem with the pipes. I can fix this. They like burn him at the stake." But thankfully, in what will be a series of boss, like S tier companion moves, Sarah Jane like slips under. She's wearing the robes, and she hands the Doctor like a pair of pliers or like bolt cutters or something. So he cuts his ropes and he frees himself from the fire, the sacrificial fire. But then, just as they're about to escape, there's kind of this like crazy edit where the eldest sister sees them fleeing, whips out like a ray gun and shoots like a blue sonic beam, and it blasts Sarah Jane in the face. And we learn later that it blinds her. There she has, Elizabeth Sladen has this moment of acting where she does that thing that people do where they put on a happy face when they're clearly like freaking out. And it is so much more human than any other performance I've seen on the show in this order. Of like, it startled me of how like, wow, that was like a real human moment in this like big, crazy soundstagey sci-fi show.
I also think like the choice to make her blind is an interesting way to solve the problem, which is that if she weren't blind, she kind of wouldn't have anything to do in the rest of the story. But because she's blind, she gets to like quote unquote not do anything, but she's like dealing with something. So then it's like we're not seeing the fact that like she doesn't really have any, she's just kind of wandering around, you know?
Right.
Yeah. It's like a really like cool like way of getting around the fact that we kind of we need to figure out a way to put Sarah on ice because I don't have anything for her to do. So she gets hit by a ray and now she's blind and she's dealing with that. Yeah.
Cass, what do you think of this plot development for Sarah Jane?
I think I like it for the reasons that Scott just said. Because like initially, like it's like, oh well, that sucks that like our companion like she can't see for the last 2 episodes. But and like the honestly, I like it for the heightened camp of this second episode cliffhanger. Where
sure, yeah, that's true. It wouldn't work if she could see.
Yeah, where she's talking to this brain in a jar, but she doesn't know what she's talking to.
Yeah, she just thinks it's a guy freaking out.
Yeah.
And when she's blinded, that is what it motivates the Doctor to be like, well, we have to go back to Solon's manor because he's a doctor. He can fix Sarah Jane's eyes.
Yeah.
So they go back there. But I do want to say, kind of going back to like watching these like in order, going from like 1 to 4, is seeing how each companion, and I guess the show to an extent, deals with like the companion being damseled. And I think Sarah Jane is damseled in a way similar to what we've seen in like with 3 and 2 stories this time. But it is interesting how they kind of like find a way to make it more active or attempt to. In this one, because she is kind of like, you know, she's like literally that monster movie damsel like tied down to a slab at one point.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they're just better at it at this point because they're like, God, we've done that so many times. There's got to be a more interesting, like it doesn't even feel like it's like a feminist thing at all. It just feels like all the writers are like bored and they're like, all right, we got to do something else.
we gotta let her do something.
Yeah.
This hasn't happened before.
Yeah. What if she did something? That's never happened before. Whoa.
So they go back to Solon's manor and he's like, fix my friend. No bullshit. So they go to his lab and he's like, oof. Oh man, her retinas are like dangling. Like she's fried. I can't do this. Like maybe the Sisters of Karn could help you, but I can't do anything. And the doctor's like, okay, well, I'm going to go back to the Sisters of Karn. And then Solin's like, hey, Kondo, get over here. Send this letter to the doctor. But tell them. Oh, frick. Okay. Wait, I forgot something that I want to go back to.
Okay.
So while the doctor was at the stake, Solon makes an appearance. And this is happening as Sarah Jane is like slipping the pliers.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, please, I need his brain. Just leave me his head. I just need his head. Like, get out of here. And he offers Kondo to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here, take Kondo, kill Kondo. And later, back at the manor, Kondo is like, hey, you're going to have hey, fuck you. And he's going to kill him, but he's like, no, I'll give you your arm if you like do what I say.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought that was
no, I love that.
development
I
worth-
love that because I love that he's like submissive to him until you get to a point where, but it's like submissive in the way that like an employee will be submissive to their boss, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you think it's like an Igor situation, but then it's like, it's not at all because he's like, don't you fucking forget, I am a foot taller than you.
Yeah,
I'll fucking slit your throat. I'll fucking drink your blood. I don't give a fucking shit.
I'm sorry.
I'll kill you.
Because he's like a foot taller and at least like 150 pounds on this guy. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
And he's got that pincer robot arm.
Yeah.
Right.
That he gave him. That Mando wants to get rid of.
Yeah.
But you're right, though. Kondo does not like worship Solon or see him as like an idol like figure. It's like, no, I am only helping you so you give me my arm back.
Right. Yeah.
So Solon hands Kondo a message and is like, tell the Sisters of Karn that the doctor's coming to trick them again and to capture the doctor. While this is happening, Sarah Jane hears the voice of the brain in the jar being like, Solid! Solid, get in here! Just like and then the cliffhanger is just Sarah Jane inching closer to the
That's
door.
the other thing that's great about this is like, I don't know that there's anything better than like an angry brain in a jar.
So
Just
angry.
shouting at people.
It sounds a little. It's got like the Dalek filter over it a little bit. Like it's,
Very
bit.
Dalek, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
it's
just not
quite
monotone.
Dalek. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very emotional.
right. He's very emotional.
Is this where I think this is where they plant the seed of he's like, you don't understand. I'm in hell. I'm in a jar. I can't see. I can't feel. And he's like, what about the dumb body? What about the dummy body? And Solon's like, that one looks really gross. He's like, I don't care. Like, you're gonna care after I put you in there. But I didn't even appreciate that kind of like foreshadowing of like, dude, no, that one is jank. It'll like, the casing is weird, so like gas will get into your brain. It'll make you stupid. And he's like, I don't care. So part 3 ends with the Solon stops Sarah Jane just before he bumps into the brain, Morbius's brain. And he's like, get out of here. But so she gets out of there, but while doing so, locks Solon in the room with the brain of Morbius. And while blind, listeners, escapes and traverses the terrain of an unknown planet she landed in like an hour ago just to warn the doctor about the trap.
Yeah.
Like, what a gal. What a companion.
True.
She almost
falls off a cliff doing it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a genuine bummer later on in this episode when Kondo like captures her and very forbidden planet, like, carries her off and she's like screaming and fruitlessly pounding on him. This is when we get kind of the weirder another Frankenstein trope of like, oh, a pretty girl has nice hair, Kondo like.
Sure.
Which is like, I guess the thing that's aged the least well in this episode. I don't know. I guess in terms of like, this is weird.
Like, yeah, I guess. I also, I mean, to be fair, he probably hasn't seen pretty hair in a very long time.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Just
look
how
at great
solid is nice.
hair.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah. Also, I just want to commend Elizabeth Sladen's acting when she is after falling off the cliff and then getting back up again. It's not a big cliff, everybody. It's like it's like
It's
I
a
don't
Doctor
know.
Who cliff.
Yeah, it's like 10 feet, maybe 10 feet high, something like that, 8 feet high. But yeah, when she gets back up again and she starts like trying to like try to find her way to like the doctor, and then that's when Kondo grabs her, and the way he grabs her, like very like not like aggressively, just is like kind of like a real like, all right, here we go, come on,
like the hair, like the hair grab,
right?
Yeah.
He grabs her hair, but like her reaction to it is like so well done because it's not. Her eyes are open. She's an actress who can see, right? But her reaction is, you can see like, wait, what has my hair? Oh no, there's a guy. Like it's not like, it's like a slow realization that she's been got, and like she tries to get away before he like grabs her. Like it's just like a really like thoughtful process of like, how would I react if I couldn't see and something grabbed my hair? Would I immediately be like, get off me? No. Like I would be like, what has my hair? Oh no. Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, especially, she probably didn't have weeks or months to like shadow a blind person or like, do the work that maybe an actor could do. But it's, and another moment, skip to the end. There was a moment where her vision comes back and she doesn't even say anything until next episode. But in that episode, I knew what was happening. I was like, oh, her vision's coming back, just because she could, I don't know, she was selling it.
Yeah. Yeah. She's really good.
Cass, what did you think of the moment where the doctor enters the like kind of caves, the opening of the caves, and he's like, ding dong, and they just like drop a net on him?
It's so funny. Oh my god. Why, no, I get he's not like sneaking. He's like trying to get their help. But yeah, he literally says ding dong, and then the sisters like drop like a net on him. And he's just like, we got to stop meeting this way, ladies.
For a story where the doctor spends the entire movie or the entire show, the entire serial going from one guy's house to this lady's house, back to the guy's house, back to the lady's house, back to the he spends the whole story just doing that back and forth, back and forth. Why is this as good as it is? I don't know. But
I think it's the ding dong. It's the, we have to stop meeting like this. Yeah. He's just there's a reason I think this is your favorite 4 story, is because like he's so cool and almost suave, but not in a like I'm the doctor trying to be suave. He just is. He's just 4.
Right. And
he's
always
in charge
like
of every situation.
He's never, I don't know, at least not in this. I mean, he's plenty condescending in other things, but like in this, he's never really condescending to anybody. He's just sort of like real with them. And it's just like I don't want that. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
With
I'm here for something else.
Like with the Sisters of Karn, he's like a little like he's exasperated with like, guys, let me help you.
Can we not?
So he convinces the Sisterhood of Karn to show him the eternal flame, and he's like, yeah, like there's probably something going on under the planet. And this is where they have their big conversation where he kind of admonishes the Sisterhood of saying like, you've robbed yourself of a very key part of any civilization, which is like death. Like death creates progress. Like new things have to come in and take over and learn, but you're not learning, you're just staying still. And it kind of resonated with kind of the troubles that our current society is having with embracing change and letting new take over.
Yeah. generationally speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the really great Solon scene where he's like trying to convince, I think this is the scene that I talked about, where he's like trying to convince the brain of Morbius to like blah 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 blah, and he makes a pun, the crowning irony pun.
Yeah.
Just like a little moment like that of like, oh, I like this character. He feels like a real character.
Mm-hmm.
So we learn about the artificial head case. So Kondo is sort of distractedly, he opens the bed curtain to the Kondo, get the body, get the gross dumb body. Morbius wants to be in the big dumb body. And he sees this Frankenstein monster, this creature made of all the parts of all these aliens that have been brought down to the planet by the Sisterhood of Karn because they're that obsessive about keeping the flame a secret. And he's like, is that my fucking arm? it becomes like a Coen Brothers movie for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, there's like a shootout. Like,
yeah, because he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. That's my arm.
What the hell am I doing here?
Yeah, and then Solon just shoots him with like it looks like a gun. It just looks like a normal gun.
Yeah.
But in the scuffle, Kondo knocks over the brain, and the brain just hits the ground, and he's like, no. And this whole time, Elizabeth Sladen is like tied down to the slab, and she's like, what's happening, Kondo? What?
Yeah, because she can't see.
She can't say anything. And she's like, Kondo knocked over the brain, and now it's all fucked. It's dark.
Well, why'd he do that? He found out about the arm. God.
It's a mess. There's this other, it was before this, but there's another really specific, weird but cool like Solon moment where Kondo is like, oh, girl with pretty hair, and he's like, get out of here. She doesn't like that. Like, leave.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, okay. Oh, so the creature rises. The new body of Morbius starts to come alive right as Sarah Jane's vision comes back, and that is the episode ender. So like 3 in a row of like Nick's cliffhanger rule. Like never seen that before.
Yeah, that's good.
Just there's a lot of good bits. There's a lot of good jokes because like the structure of like I can see, and she turns around, she's like, oh fuck, and she, like, falls back. Episode 4, it's like the doctor pretending to be dead and be like, you thought I was dead, and Sarah Jane's like, oh, you.
Yeah, because the sister, do they bring him back? He fixes their fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
He sweeps
with the
firecracker,
chimney,
and then and then he's like, well, okay, cool, thanks. Will you help me now? And they're like, no. And so they like knock him out or something, and they like tie him onto a litter, and then they like walk him back to the castle.
Yeah, there's a great moment where he reactivates their pilot light or whatever he needed to do,
Mm-hmm.
and the eldest one is like, what, are we supposed to be grateful? And then it cuts to Tom Baker doing like, wait, what? Like
like, are you fucking serious?
Are you kidding me right now?
All you've been doing since I've been here is bitching about how your flame's going out. I fixed it for you, and you're not supposed to. Just a little gratitude, just like
what the heck?
Like, just toss me a thank you. I'm not asking for you to worship me or anything, but Jesus.
So
did you fuckers
the juice is
favor?
Loose. Morbius is like stomping around. Oh, and he can't talk. He can just like make noises because like Solon said, like, no, like the brain casing isn't right. Like it's going to inhibit your abilities. So this like this the brain of this cult leader has been put into this Franken body, and it's just traversing a post-apocalyptic landscape, lumbering around, causing terror. And I had the thought at this point, and I wrote it in my notes. I just know 200, 300 years from now, this is going to happen to Donald Trump. They're gonna put his fucking rotten, dumb, like gangrene brain in a evil monster body, and it's gonna get like driven off a cliff.
Oh my god! Holy shit!
Speaking of it being prescient, it was sad when Morbius killed that sister of Karn.
Yeah.
That was the
Also
funniest moment on this episode because she's just sitting there and he like crab claws her in the throat.
No, truly. It's the most like B movie moment of the series
funny.
because she is just kind of like cowering for like 30 seconds and doesn't move or doesn't get up, and then gets crab clawed. a lot of crab clawing in this one. A lot of snappy arms.
Mm-hmm.
The sister, I was worried that it was Ohika at one point, but it was actually someone named Kalia that I don't think we had met prior to her death. So so Solon is trying to correct his mistake. He's like, okay, I think I have this now. The doctor and Sarah Jane get like locked into that lab room from earlier.
Oh yeah, I think this is my favorite 4 moment is like when he and Solon like find the monster. And Solon is like, well, you have to help me pick up this thing and take it back to my lab because I need to fix it. I need to fix his brain.
Yeah.
And the doctor's like, no, you're not going to fix it. Well, you are going to fix it, but you're going to dismantle this thing because we can't do this. So the doctor like helps him bring the monster back into the laboratory, and then he
slings it over his body, which I was very impressed by.
He's like huge. Like Tom Baker is not a small guy. And then he tells Solon like he has 5 minutes to like make his peace with his like weird monster cult leader and then like dismantle the thing. And then he leaves to go check on Sarah Jane, which is how he gets locked in the like the basement or whatever it is, like the storage room.
Yeah. We're really more than keeping the Morbius brain in a jar.
Yeah.
What was your favorite?
I just like the like he just gives him like a time limit. Like he's just like, you got 5 minutes till you're grounded or whatever. Like
I really like when they're locked in and the doctor's like, oh, we're fucked. Like we're doomed. Like this isn't gonna win. Sarah Jane's like, no, don't say that. Like, come on. And she's like, well, and then the camera does like a zoom. We zoom in on Four's face and he's like, I have an idea. And I got like, well, one of the best parts of Doctor Who, especially New Who, is like watching the doctor think his way out of a problem. And like get excited by himself. I
also love that because it was like they just like zoom in on him real quick. Like it's like a snap zoom, and then as he turns and goes, I've got an idea. I was like, that was cool.
Yeah. It was almost like a Wes Anderson like whip pan moment.
Christopher Barry directed this, and he's one of the good ones, that's for sure.
So he basically just using stuff around the lab creates cyanogen and releases cyanide as a gas because he's like, oh wait, all of these bases have the same structure no matter where they are, so this vent would lead into the room that Solon and Morbius are in right now. So he makes a chemical reaction, he crushes it, the gas goes into the vent, Solon is knocked out but Morbius isn't, and he's like, oh, good move with the cyanide, idiot. Too bad I don't have a nose or whatever. I like the doctor and Sarah Jane's back and forth after the gas is released. If she's like, wait, so how are we going to know if it works? And he's like, well, if we're still here in a month, we know it didn't work. And she's like, how many hours are in a month? I don't know. They seem very like peer to peer compared to other doctor companion chemistries. And I really, it's fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I alluded to it, but the doctor calls Morbius the biggest mongrel in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's a mishmash. Morbius challenges the doctor to the mind-bending contest where they, strap themselves to like gurneys or whatever, and they have the flashback stuff that we talked about with the crew members, which is really great. 2 stories so far this season where we've like flashed back to past incarnations of the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
There's been a lot of connections this season between stories.
Yeah.
A little weird.
So the Sisterhood chases Karn off a cliff and he falls. What do you think of that fall effect?
Where he just like tumbles into the
Yeah. It starts like twirling down the whole. Yeah, that's good.
The Doctor is greatly weakened during his mind battle with Morbius, and so he's like not waking up. And Sarah Jane's like, "No, he's dead." And they've managed to produce just a little bit of elixir, and rather than take it herself, at Ohika's insistence, Mira gives the elixir to the Doctor and says the Doctor was right. There should be an end, and sacrifices herself so that the Doctor might live. I genuinely don't understand the last beat joke of this story and would love for either one of you to illuminate.
What is the line?
The Doctor hands, I think it's Ohika, some items, and she's like, what is this? And he says, it's a mighty atom and a thunderclap.
Yeah. The thunderclap is it's a firework. So it's like, he tells her to like light the paper and stand back. And so she lights the paper and it explodes as the TARDIS disappears. So it looks like it was a magic trick, but because he doesn't want them to, I don't know. Cause it's like I don't know. Like,
I don't know. He's a weird guy.
He's a weird guy. He's like,
it's like on her deathbed, she's going to be like, why did he do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And thus ends the Brain of Morbius, a romp, definitely worth checking out on Tubi, listeners, if you like what we've been describing for the past hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I loved Morbius. He looks so weird.
The best. I wonder, do you think his plan was to get into that body and then take the elixir to try to trigger a regeneration so he could get back into like a humanoid form?
Oh.
I don't know. Because like it as horrifying as the weird Frankenstein crab thing looked, I think it was like all on purpose. Like he had like the weird like lungs that filtered the cyanide gas, and then he had a cool claw hand. So like what
for snapping the necks of witches?
Yeah, he was just gonna like walk around like that forever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Vote Morbius. He's back.
Because what would he even be able to regenerate?
I don't know, because like where even is that located?
There's like, is it like Time Lord genetics? Like,
right?
Yeah.
Like, so like theoretically, like let's just say there's a story where like the Doctor's body is like horribly mangled or destroyed, but the companion is able to save the Doctor's brain and put it in a jar, and then put that brain in like the body of a corpse or something.
Yeah.
Would that body be able to regenerate?
If it has its brain, because that is Time Lord.
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, like that's Time Lord DNA or Time Lord whatever. Yeah.
Time Lord DNA.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, just pour. They should have just tried just like pouring the elixir straight on the brain.
Yeah,
like
what would that have done?
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Let's see what this does. Yeah.
Well, I guess they couldn't because they didn't have a strong enough flame, and so they couldn't just like go doing that willy nilly. It was two against, I don't know.
Well, they don't like Morbius.
Right.
Morbius bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
He's also very like Grindelwald.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he was able to amass this cult of like followers and like did a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Tricked a deer into electing him president.
Yeah. Anyway,
any closing thoughts on the mind of Morbius?
Scott, is this still your favorite first or fourth Doctor story?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, there's other really good ones, but I just feel like this has so much in it and doesn't feel overstuffed. It's so it's so good. I love this.
And as we've talked about at length, it's aged really well with all of the new Who that we've gotten in the years since.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. But it's a good one. Brain of Morbius. It's on Tubi. You should watch it.
I had this thought. I don't know if I've said this before, but there's something. It feels right that Classic Who is on Tubi.
It does. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree because I like how readily available it is for everybody,
right?
As opposed to like what BritBox was,
right?
Yeah,
which is kind of like gatekeepy.
Yeah, like, this almost feels like it feels like all of Classic Who should be like every local library. Like you should be able to just watch it for free. It's old enough. They barely cared about it back then, let alone now.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's not meant to be this precious, sacred thing, despite how much it means to all of us, because at its heart, it is this kind of ramshackle, made with love by the skin of our teeth production.
Right. Yeah. I agree.
Like zombie exorcist. Or whatever's on Tubi.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's on the docket next week, Scott? Where are we going next?
Next week, we're doing Modern Undead with the Fifth Doctor, which is the first part of the Black Guardian trilogy.
Oh.
And the introduction of a new companion, a little shit named Turlo.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah.
New companion just dropped.
It's a little redheaded little shit named Turlo.
Whoa, is he the first ginger companion?
Hard to tell because of the black and white era. I
Right.
can't remember if any of them technically have red hair.
I think he is.
I think he might be though.
Yeah.
So this could be where the Doctor got his ginger fixation, which
God,
kind of went
I
away.
hope not. Jesus.
I like Turlo. I like Turlo a lot.
Uh-oh.
He grows a lot.
Yeah, he does.
Oh,
he does.
Yeah.
Is he kind of like Edmund from Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe?
I don't.
Or
know.
Eustace from the Voyage of the Dawn Treader?
Maybe more Eustace. He's just like really snotty. Like
Yeah.
Okay.
he's like all of. They learned from Adric in a positive way.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Anyway, that's next week. Modern Undead. It is a really fun episode. Like it's a really good one. It's not my favorite of the Black Guardian trilogy, but it's a really good one. It's very fun and entertaining and features the return of the Brigadier.
Yeah.
I believe for the first time since the Zygon episode, right? In the Fourth Doctor, for the Fourth Doctor?
Yes.
Yeah. Like that was the last time. And now he's retired and he's a school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
At Coal Hill?
No.
Because that would be awesome.
Yeah, like a military school, I think.
Yeah.
okay.
It's like some boys' academy or whatever.
Some boys' academy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like Child's Play 3.
Anything that genders that, I was like, it's like a military school. I don't know.
No, yeah.
Well, it's the Brigadier, so that makes sense.
Also that, yeah. But he's retired and he's a school teacher. So you've seen him post school teacher retirement too.
Yeah.
In was that Battlefield? Was that one?
Yes.
Yeah, in Battlefield where he's like gardening. And now you're
Right,
filling in.
and his wife's like,
yeah,
honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you're
Well, that was
filling in
nice.
the
I like
gap.
that one.
You're seeing what he was doing between running unit and actually retiring.
I'm river songing.
Yeah.
With the Brigadier.
It's a really good one. I'm excited to talk about that next week. So yeah, Modern Undead. Thanks for listening, everybody. Join the Discord if you haven't before. Check out the Patreon if that's if you want to help us keep the lights on over at Dueling Genre. We appreciate everybody who does that. And we'll talk to you next week with Modern Undead. Bye everybody.
Bye.
Bye.